Chad, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, Chad, we hear you.
All right, perfect. Ahmed, did you not get the maroon memo from Tracy and Renee?
No, I'm usually good. Oh, okay. No, I did not.
It's the color of fall.
Yeah, fall colors.
If I have to explain the joke, that means it was not funny.
No comment.
You guys are so mean.
Wow.
Oh my god.
Hmm.
Is that, are we going by that one or yours?
Mine says it's 101, so.
Okay, my phone says 101. Okay, we'll do that. We'll do that. Okay, so we'll call the meeting to order. We will start as always with the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, begin.
Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call. Nelson here. Bill Stewart. Peter Hensley, not here. Patty Townsend Smith.
Here.
Chad, alternate.
Here.
Okay. Do we have any?
We do not have any members of the public present.
So I do not need to read number 4. Sorry, Yahoo. Seating of alternates. Chad, we love you, but we do not need to seat you. We have a quorum. Please stay.
No offense taken.
All right. Otherwise, we may need to talk about you behind your back. Okay, so please don't.
That's why I'm staying.
There you go. Good boy. Good dog. Good dog. Okay. Number 6, additions, deletions, amendments to the agenda. As always, we'll start with the staff. You got anything you want to change?
Yes, we need to add an item for the California for public construction cost accounting act. Yes.
And do you,
What would that be?
this is an action item?
Yeah.
So perhaps we would put that as 11A.
Okay.
We'll do our action item first. And then we'll have the audit, which is an action item, right?
Hmm.
Okay. Any other changes from the staff?
That would be all.
Any committee members have anything they want to change on the agenda?
No, sir.
No from Bill, Patty?
No.
You good? Okay. All right, done. So 11A will be the, whatever this is, C, the cups, okay. Okay. Item 7, public comment relating to items not on the agenda. We don't have any public attending, and Dawn.
We did not receive any written comments.
Okay. No written comments, Dawn, on the newsletter that just went out?
I haven't received anything in writing, no.
Okie dokie.
Covered that in the general manager call.
Item number 8, approval of minutes. All of you received a copy of the minutes in your packet. And so I am asking if any of you have any suggested changes to the minutes? And if so, please articulate them. And if not, then I would be looking for a motion. I'll move that we accept the minutes as provided. Is there a second?
Second.
Patty seconds. And we can do this by acclamation, right, Dawn?
Correct.
Okay, all those in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
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 All opposed, nay. Unanimously carried. Excuse me. Item 9, general manager comments. Jake, that'd be you. And I think this is the first time you're going to be making general manager comments to our committee, so we're glad.
Is this the first budget committee I've been to?
I think so.
I think you're right. Probably the big thing, and you mentioned it. We it's San Diego County Water Authority did increase their rates, approve their rate increase. It was a 9.5% rate increase back earlier in the year. Goes into effect January 1st. And so really both from the communications front and finance and all of us really felt it was really important to get kind of the message out early that, even though there was some pretty overwhelming results on Measure B, as far as the vote goes, those, nothing's going to happen immediately. And the district really is not in a position to not pass those rates through. They did just in general, the way that the rate structure, the rate increase is structured, more on the variable side. It's more on the water purchase side. County Water Authority raised their the treated water component, which tacks on to the kind of that wholesale rate, as well as the wholesale rate. Those were actually overweight on the rate increases that they improved. So for us, it hits a little less on the fixed side and more on the variable side. So that's what you'll see. Newsletter went out yesterday, day before.
It goes out throughout the month with each of the cycles.
Okay, it was done yesterday. I know that. It went out for the first time yesterday. I'm still learning. And so that was kind of the message, actually when we were writing it, we didn't even know the results of Measure B, but really just kind of being clear about the message that there is a timing aspect of this and it's necessary to do this, make sure our financial health is solid. And so you will see those in the mail here. Again, doesn't go into effect till January. So normally it's like a December newsletter. We wanted to go early and this is, I think it's going to be a continuing message that we continue to update the ratepayers, customers on kind of what's going on exactly with all of that. So,
And this will ultimately need to be a calendar item for the board though, right? To pass those through?
it doesn't, yeah.
A provision of the ordinance was that.
You're right, Tracy. You're right. Thank you. You're right.
We send out the newsletter and the new rate just as a courtesy. We're not required to under proposition.
But certainly communicating to the board is key too, because you make it, and committee members, because you make it questions as well. But that is, that's probably the big news happening right now. We did have the vote the other night that looks promising. No certification of the election yet and all that, but as far as going on the yes side, it was about 95%. So those are kind of the big news items. Lately, working on a few things. Live Oak Bridge project that came up. But I think we've got a good path forward there. I actually met with county staff and their CIP manager this morning and the contractor himself, and I think we've kind of worked out some things there, both just kind of resolving some of the issues that we've had, and that the county was very concerned with too. And we still have another part of the project. We still have an 8-inch water line that needs to be extended. So it was really to make sure that we can complete the project, right? We need to reconnect that 8-inch water line. And so I think we're coming to resolution on that. So that was another kind of item to clear that I think we did this morning, but a little painful there too. You know, we've had some issues out there. So anyways, those kind of the big things going on.
Is that it?
That's it.
I can tell you that as a resident on Live Oak Park Road, watching that construction project is painful. It's just very painful. It just seems like they just keep moving the same pile of dirt back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. They dig a hole, they fill it up, and then they go dig another hole, and then they grade something out, and then they come back and regrade. And it's just Keystone Cops out there, as best I can tell.
They told me this morning they thought they'd be done. What was their schedule?
They thought they were going to be done in December originally.
Well, yeah,
This December.
it's stretched out a little bit. I think they said end of January they were hoping it would be, but that's weather dependent.
This
too.
January?
Yeah, weather dependent.
Oh, give it up.
Yeah,
Have you been out there?
I have driven over it.
you-
Yes.
I don't see that. Okay. All right. Number 10, finance manager comments. Tracy.
Okay, so it's not an agenda item this month, but we did put out the RFP for potential loans for $15 million just to see what was available, and what we could get. We got 2 responses, they were both around 6%. It looks like with the bond option we talked about also doing with FHUD that they've done an RFP for a financial advisor, and based on the feedback they've gotten, it's not going to be beneficial for them to do a joint bond. So if we do decide to go that route, we would be on our own doing it. We'd have to do an RFP for a financial advisor to help us through the bonding process. So right now we're just hitting pause. It was nice to know, that there are options out there. We weren't overly aggressive with looking for a lot of different banks on the RFP. We just kind of wanted to see what was available. So my recommendation is we just kind of wait until January and then do more of a hard push to banks and see what we can get. Maybe also go ahead and do an RFP for a financial advisor. Even if we do go with just a regular bank loan, at this time, we can start that relationship with possible long-term bonding type and replacement for capital projects.
And did you eliminate from your solicitation search the banks that we know would require us to move our bank account to theirs?
No, I went ahead and put it on there because we may be open to doing that if we want to look at other banks and the rate is right. We still want to put it out there because last time they lost out on the opportunity to work with us on the loan, and they may loosen up those criteria. Plus, we've had a little bit of a calm since the banking crisis earlier in the year, so their policies might change on.
And are the bulk of the banks that you said you went to 2, right?
Well, we only heard back.
From 2.
Yeah.
The bulk of the banks that you went to, were they regional independent banks, or did we go to any of the big houses?
I send out to pretty much all of the banks, and a lot of times we don't hear back from like the big ones like Chase or
Right.
Wells Fargo. We usually hear from the smaller ones that have more of a relationship either with us or with government.
Great. Okay. And you said 6? 6?
About 6%. But since we sent that out, the 10-year treasury rate has come down a little bit. So, maybe January might be the
Came down good today.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Bond prices went up, rates came down, market's raging right now. Okay. Item number 11. Anything else, Tracy, on your comments?
No, that's it.
Okay. Item 11, committee member comments.
We don't have anything except, is the purpose of the 15 million basically pipeline replacement and infrastructure
It's
improvement?
right now with the outlay of pulling in our capital project for the pump stations,
Right.
we're going to be pretty low on our reserves by the end of this fiscal year if we do everything that we've planned to do. So we want to make sure that we don't go too low. And it gives us some cushion on if we do end up having to pay extra for any of the projects, and also if we ended up paying the detachment fee up front, which was something that was talked about. So we wanted to know what our options were.
That's what I assumed, but thank you.
Patty, comments?
No,
You good?
yes.
All right, then we will go to item number 11A.
Okay, so this is for the California Uniform Public Construction Cost Accounting Act that is required. It's not required by any districts, but if we opt into it, it changes the threshold for formal bidding, which could save the district some money. It moves that amount from 35,000 per project up to 200,000. It does require that the district follow specific project cost accounting procedures, which we already do with our capital projects. So in looking at this, I was able to look up other districts that have opted into this, and I couldn't find any of our neighboring districts that aren't opted into this. So I think this is just something maybe we've missed over the years. So what I'm proposing is that we take this to the board to get approval to opt in and update our procurement code at the same time so that threshold is moved from 35,000 to 200,000. There's some changes that can be made with informal bids. I think we just need to study that a little bit more, what's required of the act before we change any additional items in our purchasing admin code. Currently, right now, if something's above 5,000, we get 3 quotes for it. I think that's still a good practice for our staff to get additional quotes, but this could have the potential to save us a lot of money on the formal bidding process. So this step really just opts us in. We don't have to participate in it, but this gives us the option to. Also updates our procurement code. So my recommendation is that we opt in, also update the procurement code, and then staff would have someone who basically becomes more of an expert in this and understands what the requirements are specifically with the act when doing contracting.
Interesting. Any comments? Paul,
So the 5,000 is compared to the 60 in the small purchases for the act.
So yeah, we just like having that extra threshold of getting multiple quotes because it protects us from someone having a favorite, and for making sure we're going out consistently to get competitive prices, because you could go with a low bid once and it could change over time. So, that's something we could change or not, but I think it's a safe thing to have in there. It's not something that it takes a lot of time, but changing the formal bidding level really could make a difference for staff. I know Jake you had said that you guys opted into this at Rancho.
Yeah, I have some experience with this. It was a little bit lower thresholds, 150.
Yeah, they change it every couple of years.
But
they increase it.
It is, there are some benefits to it, and that's we're looking at even kind of the prevailing wage and things like that are those requirements. But especially if you got a project, public contracting code requires you cast a wide net, right? It goes out everywhere. And which is good, right? Good competition. Not always the best contractors. Sometimes you don't get the right contractor. And so it was really beneficial when you had a project that was, an in-house project, potentially, a pipeline, small, something like that you knew was going to be under $200,000. And you could actually go to a select group of contractors that, do good work, give good pricing, those kind of things. It gave a lot of flexibility there. The front end requirements are a little lessened too, so it does save you money, I think, on some bonding and things like that. So it saves you a few bucks on that. And like I said, we're looking at the prevailing wage thing. My previous spot, they were all prevailing wage, even the sub 200s or sub 150s. But we're looking into that too to see if that's still a requirement. Obviously, there's potential big savings there. But anyways, it's a great program, a good way to get projects done quickly and efficiently, especially when there's not a lot of unknowns, right? You got a pretty straightforward project. That's what they're best for.
Great. And
okay,
Pete, you met Jake?
Yeah.
Just he is the new general manager, Pete.
Yes, I
Yeah.
understand.
Right.
All right, I guess last week I had a problem that I had an emergency today that I was able to deal with. So.
Good. Well, I have to say, we did miss you, and I was a little, it's so unlike you to miss a meeting, Pete, and so
Rare.
you're very rare. You're very, I mean, you're very, very reliable, and so I'm glad to hear that things are okay. We are on the agenda. We have finished item 11, committee member comments, okay? And at the staff's suggestion, we have included a new item as number 11A, which is the item that Tracy just presented on. And it's the one, it's got a big red draft on it. It's about
That's the
3
one in the
pages
middle.
in. And it's the one about the California Uniform Public Construction Cost Accounting Act. And as you can see, what it does is it allows the district or participants in this to have a great deal more flexibility for contracts under $200,000. And so she just explained, Jake just explained his experience, Tracy explained the law, and I guess my main question is, at the risk of saying a dirty word, it sounds to me like this would provide sole source authority for all practical purposes for up to 60,000. Is that what I'm?
Mhm.
It says no bids are required.
We're not adopting, we're not, if you look into the corrections that we're doing on the procurement code, the only thing we're changing is the threshold for formal bids from 35,000 up to 200,000. That's the only item I think we should change in our administrative code because we also have to follow federal procurement laws. We have to follow the sole sourcing rules that are aligned with that. So right now, my recommendation is just to change that one part of it, opting into this. In the future, staff can become, we can choose a staff member to become kind of an expert with the CUPCA and determine if there's other areas we want to change. But right now, I think we just want to be able to have the option to opt into the act and change that one area.
What is the federal requirement on sole source?
Federal requirements have all sorts of different requirements that you, one of them is that you not do sole source, that if you do go out for bids and you only receive one, you have to document that. And we do that now. We do a sole source form that shows that we've requested other bids. It's pretty lengthy, the federal procurement rules, but we have tied those into our admin code.
Well, that's good to know because I really had thought that just by the casual reading of this, that we were going to basically buy into all of this stuff. And
Yeah, I didn't give this to you guys ahead of time, so I know you just had
It's
to read
okay.
it on the fly here, but
it's okay. All right. So we're going to be basically using the $600,000 to $200,000 component of this, 60,000.
basically, yeah,
60 to
anything
200.
under 200,000 that we currently have a $35,000 limit on.
Okay. And you are recommending option 1, approve participation in Cupcake and approve
That's cute.
and approve the changes to the admin code, the purchasing section, right?
Yes.
And here are the purchasing.
By the way, how would this deal with large change orders in current contracts?
If you had a change order that was going to put you above the $200,000, including the fully burdened rate, then you have to be really careful with these. You want to know that you're not going to have a change order above that.
Yeah.
They do allow a small amount that you can go over the 200,000, but that's why I had said that we need someone to really dive into it.
Yeah.
Make sure they understand. I don't remember what the amount was. It was like 220,000 you could go over with change orders, but
Mhm.
that's one area where you have to be careful.
Tracy, I can expand a bit on that on our current practice, where we're currently have a project which is expected to be less than 35,000 in total value. the same thing applies if we think that there's even the potential for a change order, which would then push that project over the 35,000. We would stop that and go to the formal bidding process, even if it was under. So we already are keen to that and don't want to basically in the state's eyes be piecemealing a project that we know is going to have a potential change order coming our way.
So if we were doing a pipeline repair and we had to carve up a chunk of street and we had to repave the street, and our estimate is that was going to be, I don't know, $30,000 to repave a big chunk of street. We could use this 60 to, no, we would not be using something for less than 60,000, right? This has to be a minimum of 60,000.
No, it's just under 200,000. It doesn't have to be a minimum.
What I'm thinking of is, I don't know whether we have a situation where we used to do it up in San Francisco at our entity. When there were certain kinds of work that we knew we did regularly, we had a stable of like paving guys.
Yep.
And when we knew that we were going to do some paving, we would just immediately send out a quick spec or a little map, some little something to our stable of pre-approved paving guys and get some quick bids and then go with it. Do we do anything like that here?
We do, but it has to be well under the $35,000 threshold. But exactly what you're describing. So whether it be paving, a small pipeline repair, weed abatement, anything. If we anticipate it coming well under the 35,000 and we're not even broaching that dollar amount, then we go out to, like you just said, a stable of contractors that meet our insurance requirements, that know the district specifications, are interested in our work, and it's informal, but it's still transparent and documented, so that, you know, if Tracy Largent Construction came and said, "Hey, you're always giving it to the Flint Nelson Corporation. How come you never invite me?" We have documentation that people were invited, but we're not going through this formal process of front end documents and 3 plan sheets and a formal bid opening and things like that. It's still sealed. It's still secure. It's just less formal, and that expedites the entire process.
Thank you, Chad. And do we do some kind of a pre-qual in order to identify this stable of contractors, or do we just kind of do it based on experience? And
it's a little bit of both. We get actually our board of directors usually informs us that there's someone new that would like to be put on. There's no list, but list for lack of a better term. And so staff will then coordinate. And then when we issue them our construction agreements or a professional service agreement with the insurance, if they can meet those with no drastic red line changes that legal would balk at, then they're just included. And the next batch we send it out.
all right, well, I've kind of taken us a little bit afield from the calendar item in question here. Sorry about that. Curiosity killed the cat. Okay, so is there a motion on this? Yeah, Pete.
Assume that the desire to make this change is to save time and effort.
Yes.
It would be save, would it save substantial time and
It would, what I had in mind was a lot of the paving contracts, but really this is more Chad's forte. One part that I think you maybe missed out on before you got in here is that basically all of the neighboring districts utilize or have opted into this years ago. We're just kind of the outlier. I'm not sure why we never did it, but you know,
catching up?
might as well go ahead and do it now. Somehow we missed it. Yeah.
Okay, is there a motion?
Motion to
Recommend option
recommend
one.
option 1.
Does this have to go before the board first?
Yes,
though?
ma'am.
Or we're doing it first and then it goes to the
Yeah,
board?
we
Yes,
give,
ma'am.
This is a
we
recommendation.
give them
the
a
board to
recommendation
approve.
only.
We like to get the committee's input on items, so
Mhm.
that when we take it to the board, we can say if the committee supported it or not.
Got
and the
it.
reasons why.
Mhm. Yeah.
So,
Okay,
and
so
so
it's
we
been-
read option one, so everybody's familiar with it. It's approved participation in CUPCA and approve the changes to the administrative code, section 502. Deny participation in CUPCA was option two, and then provide staff with the direction three. So we are voting then on item one.
We are recommending, yes, that's the plan.
Option one.
And so, Bill made the motion, Pete seconded the motion. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed, nay? Unanimously carried. Thank you. Okay, here's the big one. Item 12, audit and ACFR review. Tracy.
Okay, so we finished the audit. We put together the ACFR for your review, so this is the time where it's good to get feedback on any corrections before we actually finalize it, which we won't do until after the board accepts the audit. So we did have another clean audit this year. Again, they tried really hard to find things wrong, but we had another year with no items on the management letter, which was really great. Doesn't mean that there aren't areas where we can improve, but it means the auditors didn't find anything materially misstated or any major issues. So really the results of the year are in our cash position, which I presented to the committee and the board last month. This ACFR is more just compiled high-level results of the water and wastewater, how we performed for the year. So what this item is for is just basically accepting the auditor's opinion of a clean audit.
Well, Tracy, of course, we expect no less from you.
The pressure.
Yes. I-
Comment here, prior. water. We always look to be able to put some comments down to show we've been doing our job.
Mhm.
So if they make up any comments.
Thank you. And those comments we got the first few years I was here, they were really helpful. But we've cleaned everything up, so they didn't find anything.
Is there anything significant or of note that this year's audit brought to your attention, Tracy, either as something that we were doing extremely well and therefore did not get dinged, or things that, while we did not get dinged, there may have been things that you discovered as our financial leader that would cause you to want to make a change or two along the way? Did you find any things?
No, I think it was really similar to last year. I would say the only significant change this year was the final week when we did the tie out to the trial balance and just the final where are we at. I actually went to a conference and left it for Renee to take care of with not a lot of direction. So this was really a learning year for her, and she handled it, and there were no issues with that. So that was a big deal for her and for me to kind of let go of it, because I do really enjoy making sure everything's perfect, but I wasn't worried, and she did a great job. I think I was in Monterey, so.
Weren't going to skip that little boondoggle, were you? Good girl. Okay. The staff recommends the board of directors adopt the June 30, 2023 audit of the district by the CPA firm of Lance Soul and Lunghard LLP. And I think you are asking for us to take action to make the recommendation to the board that in fact they do that. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So
I do have one slight question, and that is,
Go.
tell me about this other matters item on the second page. it just refers to RSI, and I'm not familiar with that term. And so we applied certain limited procedures to manage the discussion and analysis, the required pension and other post-employment benefit schedules. And then they say later that they did not audit that.
Oh, so-
Which is not, you're not really part of our accounting. It's more to do with, I assume, with the STRS.
Yeah, with CalPERS, we do have an analysis done by an outside firm on that. It's just this particular company, LSL, doesn't cover that.
Okay,
We do a separate reporting on that.
all right. So that isn't included in the,
Yeah, they don't audit it, but we do have it done externally,
we just put money in it.
pretty much, yeah.
And somebody else handles it and produces.
Yeah, on that one, you might notice in the notes that the pension liability did have a little bit of a jump this year, but that's because the market value of the assets in CalPERS wasn't a great year for the market, but we are 73% funded on our CalPERS.
Pretty good.
It is. I do have a recommendation when we do our budget workshop in January that we look at maybe setting up a Section 115 trust to fund that other portion of it. What that does is it just makes it 100% funded on the balance sheet, and it protects those pensions from future issues, future expenses that could pull away from funding that.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Well, I will move that that we recommend to the board that it accept this audit. And I'm looking for a second.
Yes, I'll second that.
Thank you. It has been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
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 All opposed, no. The ayes have it. Great. Tracy, now that we're done with that item, what do we do with this audit other than file it in a file cabinet? Do we
So this is great. We use it to get
finance, it, right?
financing. Yes,
So you would be showing this to banks in the future
yes.
to let them
I
see.
I used the draft form for this last RFP and
Okay.
they absolutely ask for it. We also use it, we're required to submit it to the state controller's office. It does help us with the district of distinction and things like that to have a clean audit. And it's also just a way to increase transparency to your ratepayers. You know, a lot of people know what an ACFR is and they know how to look at it and find information, you know, statistical information
Mhm.
in that back section that compares the last 10 years. It's interesting for people to look at or for comparisons.
Mhm.
Sometimes new employees will look at it coming in.
Alrighty. Item number 13. Thank you, Tracy.
Mhm.
Item number 13, water sales update. So I'm sure this is going to make us all smile, right?
No. The water sales are still down. You know, we can't forecast what's going to happen for the rest of the year, but if we duplicate what we did last year for the rest of this year, if it's another extremely wet year, then we're still going to be significantly below what we've budgeted, you know, possibly below 10,000 acre feet. We're going to talk about this in January at our budget workshop. Have hard numbers for the first 6 months, but it's not looking great. I think we need to start preparing for scenarios where we're at, you know, 10,000 acre feet a year. We should have some positive on the meter replacements because we did have a little bit more water losses last year than we had anticipated. Fortunately, we did budget for I think 8% water loss, but we really didn't think we would actually have that. So we're trying to get that back down to the planned 3%. That was the goal with the meter replacement project. So yeah, we're still looking at around 10,000 or maybe even slightly below that.
Help me, please.
Sure.
I'm on page attachment D, the line chart. And I can absolutely appreciate the kind of instinctive conservatism
Hmm.
that financial managers must bring to this discussion. I just want to be sure I'm reading this chart right. The green line is what we budgeted for 23-24. Is that right? That's what we budgeted that we would buy.
Yeah, but we didn't make this seasonal. We just did a flat divided
Right.
by 12.
I'm with you, totally with you. It's a linear
Yeah.
representation of getting from here to there. Right.
Yeah.
And we have the FY 23 actuals. And we are, looks to me like we are substantially below year to date on the actuals, right?
Compared to prior year.
Compared to prior year. Yep, yep, yep. And it seems that if I were to follow the trend of the gray line for the remainder of this year, and given the gap that's below it, is that is why you are saying that you believe it will be less than 10,000 acre feet? Is that right?
Well, so what we do is we use the actual numbers. The charts are just for people who like it visually. We've put in the actual sales through October.
Yeah.
And then just dropped in what we did last year in
Yep.
sales and came up with the total, and it's below 10,000 acre feet. But last year was really wet from November through June, so.
I mean, what I'm struggling with would actually, if I were correct, it would actually make things worse. That's where I'm going.
Yeah.
But here's our gray line, and it has a certain curve to it. Here's our red line, our actuals today. If we use the actuals from the prior fiscal year, then basically what we would see is that for the rest of the year, instead of starting at this point on the red line.
Right, just draw a parallel line.
Yeah.
And
We
you would
would-
end at 10,000 acre feet.
Right.
Yeah. Just make it the same distance apart from the gray for the rest of the year.
Like that?
Yes.
Thank you.
You wanna show us your chart too?
See how he did. It's pretty good.
And if the actual number of what that lands on, it's 9,749 acre feet. Is that where your line kind of landed?
No, no, my line landed north of 10,000.
All right. Probably just barely though.
Yeah, barely.
Well, last year there was, I mean, from January to April, very little.
Mhm.
It's almost flat.
Yeah, generally through October, through this time, we will have sold 70% of the water for the year.
Say that again.
Through October, for the
October.
first 4 months of
Yeah.
the year, we usually sell 70% of the water that we're gonna sell for the whole year.
Got it.
We're at 70% of last.
Yeah.
Wait, did I say that?
No, yeah.
I did?
We're,
And it still can.
so
Wait,
com-
let us correct that.
compared to fiscal year 23, we have sold 70% of what we sold last year up to year to date. So that's why there is such a big gap currently. But what we're saying is if we then start to sell the same as we did last year, November through June, we will close that gap. It will be less, it will be more than 70% of last year. We're hoping that percent goes up. Especially because
So
we're hoping to have a dry winter compared to last year's rainy winter.
the actual number that we've usually sold through October is 48%. We usually have sold 48% through October. I was looking at the wrong screen.
There's like.
It's good. I already had it right here.
And then if we turn to attachment E, this confused me once before. Yellow is this year. No, yellow is last year.
Which,
Hmm?
which chart on attachment E?
Attachment E.
This one?
Yep,
There's
yep,
four.
yep, that one,
Oh,
that one.
No,
that
this one. Yeah, I was like, there's 4 charts in attachment.
Yeah. Oh, okay, you're right, there are, yeah. Year-to-date usage by customer class
Mm-hmm.
and I don't see a column for 23, 24.
Oh, you know what? They're just mislabeled. I'm sorry.
Is
So-
gold this year?
Yeah,
Gold is this year?
yeah.
Okay. And it's comparing year-to-date to year-to-date, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
When we talk about the decline in ag use, and yet the gold bar is vastly higher than the prior year bars.
remember we had a lot of people from PSAR that opted out.
And how does that affect the gold bar?
They went into ag. So they went from SC and SD, which you'll see there are no gold bars for this.
PC and PD.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Got it.
Oh, yeah, they went over.
yeah, they went from, they could go from SC or SD and they could choose to go to PC or PD. And if they didn't, then we put them in ag. And then got rid of SC and SD completely for the year.
So we had a lot of people that decided not to stay in PSAR when it went from PSAR, the temporary to permanent, because they just didn't want regulations that went along with it.
Mm-hmm. So really, we don't have a chart here because of those gymnastics. We don't really have a chart that visibly demonstrates the loss of ag sales. Do we?
No, but we could simplify this. Instead of doing it by customer class, we could do it by family, residential, ag, and PSAR.
I'm not trying to make more work. I really am not, but what I'm trying to do is to think about the fact that the casual observer would look at this and say, it doesn't look to me like we have a problem with ag sales at all.
We
And
could just combine those 3 ag categories into one
Mm-hmm.
for this chart.
And then leave the
So-
others the same.
Yeah.
it's just a thought, because I think that the answer is that we are experiencing declining ag sales. Is that right?
Yeah, we've seen a 50% decline in the last 10 years.
That I remember from some other charts.
Right.
Yeah, it's
And our residential use is remaining relatively compared to all of that gymnastics flat.
It's
right?
been really flat despite a lot of new accounts, but what's really helping us there is that the board chose to move more of the rate onto the fixed portion rather than just having it on a variable. That way, when we have volatile sales, we have a little bit more revenue dependency on the fixed portion of the recovery.
Okay. Just a little nitpicky there, Flint. Let it go.
Do you want to combine those?
Okay.
Mhm.
Are there any other comments or questions about the water sales update?
All these are October 30. 4 months. 4 months, right?
Yes, October 31st, yes.
First 30. That's pretty dramatic. This chart's very dramatic.
Uh-huh.
That's the ouch. It's water sales year to date compared to the previous 3 years, and that's a big decline.
Yeah.
6,900 to, or 69, 6,900 to 48.
So that's what we were saying. We hope to see
Yeah,
these two get closer as the year goes on.
Yeah.
Weather permitting.
I think last year too, it was just wet so late,
Mhm.
you know, I mean, and
yeah. it
Yeah, it
just
was
kept going.
ag responds, right? You get wet weather and you know, they're into saving water. So I think as you got rain into April and we even got, what did we get? The hurricane that came through, you know, put a couple inches on the ground. Was that August?
Mhm.
3 inches.
Yeah.
August.
3 inches on
I was in Albuquerque. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think those kind of have long lasting effects. It seems like it takes a while.
Oh, yeah.
to dry out and people respond. So yeah, it's not a surprise. It was very wet.
Yeah, it was August to September. Yeah, it was in August because September billing, we bill in arrears, so September billing decreased dramatically compared to prior year.
Any further comments or discussion before I move to item 14?
Good information.
I was just gonna add to that too. November billing will be on October sales, so November might see a little bit of an uptick. Because it's pretty warm for October.
Mhm. Still is.
I must say, I'm not buying as much from you as I was earlier.
Clint, come on.
You're not helping.
Brown's soggy.
Before we move on, I'm gonna raise one of the
Yeah.
useful for people. We have some charts that apply to items that are on our agenda. We put them up on the screen. So we
Okay.
all know what we're talking about.
Sure. Yeah, that's
And if
easy.
We have questions, we can say, what about this item here? And you could respond.
Great idea.
Way to go, Pete. Good. Okay, let's move to item 14, a matter near and dear to my heart. Pipeline rehab and replacement planning updates.
You want me to go?
Yes,
I don't even know what this item's for.
or Chad.
Well, there's been a lot of talk about this, and just had a long conversation with Flint as well. And we're a few things that we're kicking around, and I've met with our senior staff just on, you know, as I'm coming up to speed on all these projects that we have on our books and funding availability for projects that are on our books and those kind of things. Actually met with our operations and engineering managers last week to really kind of take a deep dive into what we've done. Obviously, I've read through our old master plan. It was like a 2016 vintage master plan. We did some pipeline condition assessment, really an asset management plan, right? That looked at risk of failures, consequence of failures. That's a plan that HDR did back in 2018. And so we're taking a few steps along that path. I know Ahmed and Robert, I mean, I go, well, 2018, we've had a lot of break data since then. I know our data's improved since then, kind of the accuracy and just making sure it's all there, it's attached to the right pipe, those kind of things have really improved. And so one of the things we're doing is we're collecting all that, right? All the last 5 years of break data in an effort to update some of those efforts, right? Are we still seeing the issues that were identified in 2018? I think in 2018, there was probably not quite as accurate and complete data that was used in that study. I mean, the study probably started well before 2018 even. And so kind of doing a recheck of all that. The other thing that we're talking about is, I read through the master plan and it is a bit dated in a couple of respects. And that's just the age itself. It's 7 years old. And again, those things probably start a year, 18 months in advance, probably at least. And so, even our operations have changed pretty dramatically, right? Taking less water down in the south end, moving water from the north through our metropolitan connections, kind of the wholesale water efficiency kind of moving a lot of water through more reservoir and then back out. So really kind of a shift in the way we're doing things, and feel like there's a step we want to take in the near term and really just to enhance our planning, right? We have some projects, we have a list of projects that are identified, that are prioritized, and Chad and his group, and Robert as well, they're kind of teaming up on reprioritizing those, new information. And hey, we found out the county's actually responsible for one of these projects, and just things like that. Things change over time. They're going to go ahead and do that, and there's some really good projects there. But I think given all the changes given kind of the age of the master plan itself, feeling like there's an update that needs to take place, a little bit of planning as we're kind of moving towards, maybe in the next year or so, kind of going a little bit harder on pipeline replacement, pipeline repair, those kind of things. Obviously, we've got some priorities in the next, in the short term, 6 months, 9 months, so some projects, the pump stations in particular, that we've got going. But I think we're planning on, we're planning on taking some planning steps to really refine not only the pipeline replacements, but improvements, right? I think we've got a good system, but I think everybody would agree. I mean, we want to make it a great system, right? And so with declining demands, age of infrastructure, and in a bit of a shift in operations, I think we want to bring all those things together in a kind of a more comprehensive plan to move forward. Doesn't mean we're going to keep populating high priority projects, right? There's ones out there that Robert and Chad, and they know them, right? I've had 14 breaks in a mile. That's a pipeline that needs to be replaced,
Yeah.
right? Or the thing's up on the side of a hill, we can't even get to it, and we've got a good project to fix it. Some of the safety projects, we went through some of those. I mean, there are certain things that we are going to prioritize and program into the CIP. We know they're there, but I think there's a bigger program coming. Obviously, it's something we're going to have to talk to the board about. It's not a insignificant effort to go through updating, a new hydraulic model, a master plan, if that's, and incorporating a lot of the things that we've done already, right? We've talked about the potential to do in-house pipeline construction or what would go outside for pipeline construction. And so really integrating all those things into a kind of a comprehensive plan. Again, it doesn't happen overnight. You're looking at more of a kind of a year-long effort, and that's probably once you get really kicked off on it. You've got to there's a lot that goes into that. But I think having to, we've got really good management staff here across the board, engineering, operations, IT, and data, and just making sure, because I think in the past, not just here, this is kind of global. Those things kind of got done in silos, right? Maybe it was just the engineering team and those kind of things. And so making sure, because everybody's got great experience here, making sure those things really get tied in. When hydraulic model is no good if they don't talk to the operations staff, because it'll be wrong. And so just making sure all those things are integrated. So I think there's kind of a longer term program that we're going to be talking about. Doesn't mean we're not going to do pipeline projects. We do want to put those, the ones we know, the ones that are high priority. We want to keep pushing on those, and as we can, we want to do those. So I think that's what you're going to see kind of going forward. So, and again, this is like hot off the press. This is stuff we're just I'm getting into and we're kind of making plans towards, but we'll be talking to the board about it and kind of trying to prioritize some of those efforts. That's my update. Questions?
Comment.
Yeah.
For a project I live in is an interesting little case study in this, because it has a mile of roads that serve 134 units. And in that mile of roads, we had about 12 pipeline breaks between 2017 and 2000 and now. All of them just about occurred in the first 4.5 years, 16 through 20. Okay. And then the district came in and put in a pressure reducing valve, and it all stopped cold. Haven't had one since, I don't think. So it's a kind of an interesting thing that those projects to put in the pressure reducing valves, of which there were, Chad, how many were there? Do you recall?
Yeah, your neighborhood is supported by 2.
Yeah, 2 of them out of maybe 7 or 8 that were done.
There's 3 that you can see from your community, but 2 serve yours.
Yeah. What a difference. And what happened is that there were junctions at various points, because we have little, cul-de-sac things that that wind off our main road and all the junctions failed.
Mm.
Wasn't the pipeline itself, it was where they teed off. And so do we need to replace that pipeline? It's 35 years old. It
Shouldn't.
probably won't.
No. you would
And
think
so
it'd be okay.
if you just looked at the data, you'd say, yeah, this really needs to be replaced. But again, we have experience, and
Yep.
the experience is probably that line's going to be good for another 15 or 20 years at least. And we
Mhm.
don't need to mess with it. So
And I should have,
you're exactly right.
Yeah.
There's an update needed now.
and I should have mentioned that too, because that's what everybody says. The reducing pressure across the district has been wildly successful
Mhm.
at lowering both the number of breaks and the extent of damage that's
Yeah.
caused by the breaks. So that is obviously a very important part, a great program and part of that study.
I have a question for you. In putting in the new pump stations, I know they're more sophisticated than the old. The old just kind of maintained a certain, do they react to demand better than the old pump stations that they're replacing that were 40 years old?
Certainly there's a lot more smart control on our pump stations, and Ahmed, if you want to jump in on this, mainly, I mean, obviously, our SCADA system, I mean, be controlled from anywhere. So if there's some blip in the system, these guys can actually adjust remotely. But the, kind of the introduction of the variable frequency drives, really, I mean, kind of modernized the way we move water. And you can, I mean, used to be very challenging to take reservoirs off for maintenance and do those kind of things. Now you can set the pumps where they can almost maintain pressure in a system,
Okay.
but just having that variable speed, I mean, you can modify flows across a huge range now where it just wasn't possible for you off on, with the soft starts. So that's a big one. And then just having the ability to control from anywhere, you can react on a dime. So anything else
No, I mean, that's the bulk of it. We have better control over the pump stations. We can set them to turn on and off when we like, and we can have them based on the levels of the tanks to automatically turn on and off. So, and they're more reliable now. When we turn on a pump, we know it's going to be on.
Yeah, and that's another one of those factors that are
Mhm.
going to go into, how much longer a particular pipe will last. We know what it is now too. And we have a full inventory of all of it and what it was, what is it clay pipe or is it or is it what out there? So this is a great time now with all these improvements that are being done currently and have been done to reanalyze that.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah, awesome.
I just want to jump in and say that I found the discussion very helpful and very positive. And I completely agree that updating our master plan to reflect all of the things that Jake talked about, and probably a few things he hasn't mentioned that need to be factored in for that master plan to be accurately reflective of what it is we are doing and plan to do. And I think if I hear you correctly, Jake, what I'm hearing is a view that we kind of proceed along two paths simultaneously. One path simultaneously is for the mid to long term, and that is the process by which we update the master plan and use that update to talk back to us in really smart ways about where our capital dollars ought to be spent. Because we can make improvements, we can replace, we can rehab, and we can come up with what I call fun and convenience projects where it makes life easier, but does not necessarily benefit the ratepayer. But all of those can be looked at in a context and ranked and prioritized, and it will probably ask us many questions about how we really do plan to operate, because we may think we know, and then as we put it on paper and game it through, we may find that we want to make some changes in how we operate.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
process is valuable,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
The second path is one where we know that we have some projects, we have some pipelines that are clearly causing problems. And we have tried all the Band-Aids we've got. We've tried pressure and we've tried cathodic, and the pipelines are still giving us trouble. And that we want to find some way, short-term way, of finding a way to fund the prosecution of those projects. And the idea, I'm assuming, would be that over time, if Tracy finds conducive market conditions for us to do some long-term financing, probably long-term financing works better if you've got some dough involved and not just 5 or 10 million, but go for some serious money that would allow us to then have dedicated funding sources for the results of path one, which is the master plan study and the identification of how we need to update our system.
Yeah.
Am I hearing it correctly?
I think so. I think that, that plan is still forming,
Mhm.
and timing of that plan is still forming, especially on the funding side. We've got, a little bit of uncertainty there, I would say, on how, how things play out, how quickly we spend things, but generally, yes.
How could this committee help you?
Well, supporting that process is always helpful. I think, we're going to have to make some decisions too as an agency, and you guys committees are really important in all this as well. As we move forward, how we adjust our rates, to be quite honest. I mean, that is our funding source, and then that ties into, how we manage debt and do all those things. So I think, honestly, the things that you're doing are supporting us, and going forward. That's the thing. What do we want to have in reserves? What do we want to spend on capital? What do we, what kind of rate increases can our ratepayers absorb? I mean, all those things kind of come into balance. So, obviously we always bring you recommendations, and but and keep voicing your opinions, right? I mean, that's it's helpful to us. So,
Well, I appreciate that. And this has been something that's been bugging me for quite a while. And so I'm glad to hear that we now have got some focus on it, and we're
forming a plan.
right.
We're forming a
right,
plan.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. And so Tracy, thank you for finding out about short term and looking into long term, what kind of financing options are out there for us, because this is exactly the kind of thing that if we had a bundle of $30 million worth of projects, this is exactly the kind of thing that utility districts would be funding with long-term debt, because the assets are going to last way longer than the debt service. And so it just makes sense, I think. So great. If you think of something in the middle of the night, at least jot it down. You don't have
Call him immediately.
you don't have to call, but you could jot it down and let us know. I mean, if there's really something that we can do to be of any service in that process. And would it be your view that is there any chance that we can perform this update to the master plan with in-house staff?
There'll definitely be a lot of involvement,
as opposed to a consultant.
We will have a consultant.
We have to have a consultant.
Yeah, you're gonna be doing a lot of hydraulic modeling, and that's pretty specific kind of activity.
Oh, you're not ready to do a bunch of hydraulic modeling? Come on, man. Get your yagas out here. You can do that.
Well, my,
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Item 15, thank you all very much for that discussion. Item 15, review of the monthly board finance packet.
Okay, so we reviewed a majority of it already when we were looking at the sales charts, but I just wanted to point out under attachment A, we did add a new column, the last one. It's fiscal year 24 proposed adjusted budget. So this is what we're proposing to adjust in January 2024 in our mid-year budget workshop. And one of the significant items is on the second page of attachment A at the bottom, you'll see that we originally budgeted for 12,700 acre feet and we want to lower that to 10,000 acre feet.
Second page of attachment A.
Yeah. So that top, yeah, you'll have to flip it
Will
around.
probably be fine.
Yeah.
But I'll try.
Yeah, and then at the bottom where, and it's small,
Ah, 12,700.
yeah. So that's what our mid-year workshop will be focused around
You're
is
gonna, whether that number needs to be lowered, right?
lower than 10.
Lowered from 12,700.
Yes, yes, lowered from 12,700 to, if you see right next to it, it says 10.
Yeah.
So basically what that's indicating is that the items in the proposed adjusted budget column reflect that lower
Mhm.
sales volume.
Yes.
Oh, I see the. name of
Including the
column
cost
now.
of purchased water.
Okay.
So this is gonna change each month until we get to that workshop.
Mhm.
That really adds to around $800,000.
Mm.
The change in that position.
Oh,
So that's the hit you predict
Yeah.
on water sales loss if we don't meet our budget.
yes. What would be the new net position with the lowered 10,000 acre feet but water sale budget?
Detachment payment, $3.157 million. We are actually entertaining the notion that we might have to shell that dough out in this fiscal year. Is that, Tracy, where we're at?
Absolutely. Yes,
What about those of us who are against it?
I mean, I'm with you. I don't want to pay a penny, but we will do as the board directs.
Well, the board is gonna direct when that money goes out?
If there, I think it's a lot of it is based on the settlement and the items for the closed session coming up. I think there's a lot of different options of things that could happen.
Anything else?
That's it.
Okay. All right. List of suggested agenda items for the next meeting.
So the next meeting is going to be in January, and that's going to be the joint Budget and Finance Committee and Board workshop. We have Andrea from IB Consulting coming in for that. I think that should be the focus of our meeting. I don't think we want to.
So we would meet on the second Tuesday in January in prep for a workshop on the fourth Tuesday. Is that what you're saying?
No, so the workshop is planned to be the same time as this committee.
Okay.
It'll just be, we're
All
inviting
right.
board members to it. We did this, I think, 4 years ago. When we were
Yes.
setting rates.
Yes.
Worked really well, to just have that one item to focus on, so.
So
Um,
fine.
I
And we're
think
gonna
it's
go
the night-
dark
yeah.
in December.
Yes,
No December meeting. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that wraps it up then. So, item 17 is adjournment, and I think we're all done here. QED, let's quit and eat dinner. Have fun.
Uh,
Congratulations on such a clean audit.
mhm.
Thank you.
thank you.
In terms of, just one last question, and that kind of follows on this whole discussion about updating the plan. And that is, what do you see as a timeline for getting this into the board's hands for a decision on hiring a consultant, which would be necessary to really do it?
It's probably a 3-month process. Start to finish there to, RFP, and even that, I think.
Kind of a unique, we have some unique needs, I think, because of the things like you mentioned, right? These pressure reducing stations and things that we've done. So I think crafting that RFP is gonna need to be a little bit of a careful process. I do want to talk to the board before we even do that too. I mean,
Yeah.
that's kind of, that's kind of part of it.
Do you want me to do this?
And I want to make sure that it's properly budgeted for, and those kind of things. But from the kind of the time I think we start, it takes about 3 months probably to get that through approval.
Since we're going dark one here, but not you. You're gonna keep working. Except for the holidays, but no, I just curious as
Yeah.
to what the horizon looked like.
Yeah, I mean, looking at early next year really to get that kicked off. Yeah, we're kind of kicking it around internally here, and then we'll
All right,
kick it off in January.
thank you.
Thank you. It's good.